When I first read the script, first of all, I just was so blown away. It was so explosive to me, and just explosive and so dense that after first reading it, of course, that's what first overwhelmed me. And then the second read through that I do on a script is more about like, now how am I looking at this? And when it took me 3 hours to go through the first 50 pages and really like look at what was going on, it just it really was overwhelming because I felt that it was so complex, all of the layers, and that it was factions, it was eras, it was a lot condensed into a very short time period, but that it really did represent so much of how it really is. Trying to walk the fine line in these characters between um, you know, paying respect to them as human beings, not making fun of the subculture of it all, because we're not doing that. Even if we may have varying political viewpoints or whatever, it's an interesting line to walk, because it is a very specific look, the Fox look in general, this culture of it, and to try and pay respect to that as the women that exist in the storyline, as well as just it is a very specific subculture. Well, maybe it's not so sub. We open with her with long hair. We know that in the first convention she's in the long hair. We know when she is, by the second time, and when she goes to see Trump, she has short hair. So there are specific timelines we had to hit with that. Then we knew that she grows her hair out, and we need to show like an arc of where she goes to. And so we have to have medium length hair for that. And so we find a point in the storyline that may or may not be exactly right. But funny and interestingly enough is when we did put the length we were going for in the medium length on Charlize, I feel, well, first of all, Charlize says, I look too much like Charlize now, because Megyn Kelly has this bob and it's kind of curled. And it's like, interestingly enough, it's how Charlize wore her hair. My theory is that Megyn Kelly probably said, oh, look, I like Charlize Theron's hair. I want my hair like that. So she, styles her hair that way. That being said, we then pulled back on it to try and not make it look so much like how Charlize wore her hair. So you see Megyn Kelly more. And we did shorten it a little bit more than we had intended. And then finally we have a flashback look, which is, going back to her with Roger in the early days. And that's a much more naive and less, it looks more innocent. It has a less contrived look about it, because you can see how Fox morphs these women. I hope that the audience feels what I got to feel, which was, I just felt it was so explosive, because you're watching a timeline and the actual events that take place, some of which we add in just to tell a story, but actual events that took place, and how this Me Too movement began in this particular environment that has a particular facade, what's going on behind it, and how that is hopefully relatable, that it can happen anywhere. And I hope that not only is it a great story just by way it's riveting, I felt and feel that it's a riveting story. I hope that that's what the audience gets, is that it's like you are watching and you want to know what's going to happen, what's going on with each of these women, and the complexity of that. And I just hope that people feel that it's relatable, it's unbelievably explosive, and that they feel, it's just a great story. The conversation of the Me Too movement, I find the most interesting conversation about it in the present moment is that men seem to be the most surprised. Like, really, would that happen to you? Does that ever happen to you? And even on set, we've had some scenes where we've been shooting, and will be watching the monitors, and I've had conversations with other, mostly men. Women don't say, does that ever happen to you? Because why? Of course it does. It has happened to all of us our entire lives.